interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, some of the research models that other professors have looked into, and the ones that myself and my colleague, Dr. Khalid Khan, we have started the research on, again, emotional intelligence, high performance project teams, and their correlation with project success. So, okay, I'm going to start out with this, try to make it a bit of interactive. So can anybody put it in the chat? What is it? What is this called in project management? The stuff that you see it on screen. What is it called?
A black hole.
Black hole. Okay, good one. How about this? Can put it on the chat or say it.
Fractals.
Black hole. So is this better? Is this better or is this better? This is, oh, by the way, this is also an eye exam. No, I'm just kidding. Just wanted to make sure everybody is awake. So let's get started. Some of the key facts, I'm sure you have seen it, but this is from various research papers, Harvard, MIT, and Gallup and research. Over 40% of all IT projects experience cost and schedule overruns. Another 25% of all IT projects are either canceled or deliver the outputs that are never used. In 2004, a car rental firm, Avis Europe, everybody has heard of the name, canceled an ERP system after spending $54.5 million. In 2008, Qantas Airline canceled another project after spending $40 million. And a study by PwC reviewed 10,640 projects from 200 companies in 30 countries, and they found out only 2.5% of the companies successfully completed 100% of their projects. Only 2.5%. Now, it's an interesting one from Boston, the Big Dig. Some of you might have heard of that, the tunnel project, the Big Dig. Started in 1982 with a budget estimate of $2.6 billion, and it was finished in 2008 with $8 billion. And if you were to do the inflation adjustment, we're talking about $14+ billion, and it took 25 years to complete that project, 25 years. Now it's estimated in the US alone, in IT, and just IT only, $100 to $150 billion per year are wasted. So this is, I'm sure you've heard of these stories. Now you'll know where I'm going with this. Some of you, if you want to know what the source is, these are the sources, and I'll be happy to send a copy of the presentation. So what's going on? Basically, we have been doing projects successfully, but we have also been doing projects, or we have seen projects that have been going into the black hole. And when the project goes into a black hole, what does that mean? That means a lot of money, or billions of dollars, go down the drain. Those dollars can be used for lots of purposes, you know, for research, COVID-19, you know, healthcare, and people who really need that, you know, money to help them out. So what can we do as project managers, as leaders? How can we make more projects more successful? That is the topic of today's discussion, or that is the goal. So now, before I get into it, okay, I want to do some math in team building. So 1 + 1 + 1 equals, please type in the answer in the chat box. And Faiza, if you can read those answers to me.
Yeah, we have a few responses. 333. Jim Mason says it's 111.
111. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll talk about that. Of course, 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It's a simple math. Okay, now the story changes a little bit. So how about this? What would that be? We got 3 team members. What's the math on that one? Anybody? Please type it in the chat, or you can hit the space bar and talk. Faiza, what are the answers?
We have 3. Derek says 9. Depends on the level of effort. The collective numbers could be different. Relationship issues could arise. Some people say this is teamwork or 300%.
Very good. All of the above. There is no wrong answer here. How about if I say this? It's minus 111. What would that mean? What would that be? Minus 111. I think somebody said 111. What if I say minus 111? Has anybody experienced that phenomena where you felt like, as a project manager, as a team member, you felt like minus 111? Faiza, what are the responses?
Yes, Renee says the effort drops based on the others.
Yes, and it seems like everybody is coming down. It's pulling you down. And I'm sure you all have experienced this as a project manager or as a team member at least once in your lifetime, where you felt like you wanted to pull your hair out, right? So that's minus 111, you know. So, but I'm sure you all have worked on projects where you felt like this, where it's 3 members, but the energy and the synergy is like 111. What that means, we are working as a high performance and highly successful team. So how can we get to plus 111? That's what we're going to talk about. So now the two key questions that I'm going to pose to the audience is, first is, what can we as project managers and leaders do to enhance the project success rate? As I talked about, you know, some of the examples, and those are the real life projects, $150 billion being wasted just on IT projects, just in the United States. What can we do as project managers to enhance the success rate? Please type in your answers.
Jim Mason says we should communicate clearly. That is one response.
Okay. Anybody else?
Communication and collaboration. Dedication to building. Manage risk effectively. Check ROI. Always plan ahead. Benefits should be clear so that everybody understands why they're doing what they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Another key question is, can project managers and leaders create high performance project teams using emotional intelligence? That is today's topic. Yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Of course, the answer is yes. But the sub question is how? So that's what we're gonna, you know, delve into. Have high performance teams. It's basic. Everybody knows. I'm just going to flash it out. You're a high performance team when you're empowered to do whatever it takes to achieve the main goals and objectives. You're collaborating. You're resilient, and your goals and objectives are project goals and objectives are aligned with the company's vision, mission, and so on. So that's we all know that's the definition of a high performance team. Now let's take a look at some of the research models. Okay, this was the research done by Professor Ralph Mueller and Professor Rodney Turner. I had the privilege of doing my PhD underneath both of these professors, and they have written quite a books and hundreds of articles on project management. They looked at 3 dimensions of leadership. One was the EQ, the emotional intelligence dimension, IQ, the intellectual one, and the MQ, which is the managerial. So they looked at those dimensions and they tried to see if there was a correlation to project success. And there was. And there are specific elements that looked at. I'll be happy to share those research, but plus you can also Google their papers. So they found that there was a correlation between all of these 3 dimensions and project success. Then There was a huge study, it was a 10-year-long study on global leadership and organization behavior effectiveness, which calls the GLOBE research study, done by Professor Robert House and lots of other colleagues. They looked at national culture and leadership, if there was any correlation. National culture meaning culture in the United States, culture in Canada, culture in UK, France, Germany, culture in the Middle Eastern countries, in Asia. So they looked at, and they also looked at Geert Hofstede's model, who's the guru of culture. So, and it was very interesting what they found. They found was there were 7 leadership traits or characteristics that were contingent or dependent upon national culture, meaning where you grew up or where you practice project management. So what were those 7 factors that were contingent upon national culture? Was humane, bureaucratic, autonomous, face-saving, self-sacrificial, status-conscious, and internally competitive. Again, these, based upon the GLOBE study, they found that these 7 factors were contingent upon the national culture, which is different than the organization culture. So when I was doing my literature review for my PhD, I found this very interesting. So what I did was I chose that as a topic. I wanted to do more research on that. So I took those CLT factors, called the culturally contingent leadership theory factors, all those 7, and see if there was any correlation between those 7 CLT factors and project success. And there was. Not all of them, but again, depending upon and culture. And it was very interesting to see that the CLT factor called bureaucratic, it had a positive correlation with project success in some of the cultures. For example, some are high power distance countries in Middle East and Asia, where actually we found that, that you had to be a bit bureaucratic to make the project successful. If you were to do that in Scandinavia, you probably fail as a project manager. So there was lots of interesting findings there. So now, a few years later, so we came up with another model. That's what we have been studying for the last few years. And if anybody wants to join our research, please, you're welcome. Now what we are saying is we have come up with a research model. It looks very simple, but when you actually drill down, it becomes complicated, especially when you involve the national culture characteristics and organizational culture characteristics. What we are saying is, if you can build high performance teams or project teams using emotional intelligence, you can enhance your project success. This is the essence of our research model. And there is a literature that supports that model, and that's what I'm going to discuss next. First, let's talk about the emotional intelligence. As the guru of emotional, Daniel Goleman, this is a simple model from Daniel Goleman's book on emotional self-awareness. When we say self-aware, what does that mean? Anybody? Self-awareness. Please type in your answers. Self-awareness. What is it? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? What is it? Faiza, please start reading the answers to me.
Yeah, so we have Amna saying it's knowing your emotions. Jim says it's understanding how you're perceived. It's sense of yourself in relation to others. Know thyself. Awareness of personal strengths and weaknesses. Being a good team player, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, these are the responses we have so far.
Okay, very good. I mean, I'm sure everybody has heard of SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. How many of you have done the SWOT on your projects and or your organizations? Has everybody done the SWOT analysis? Just say yes or no in your comments. Have you done?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, most people are saying they have done a SWOT.
Okay, no, that's very good. That's exactly the answer I was expecting, and 99 to 0.9% or 100% of the people say yes. Now, my next question is, how many of you have done the SWOT on yourself? How many of you have actually sit down, even in this lockdown situation, and tried to write it down on a piece of paper, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats? Please type the answers.
Most of the responses are no. We have a few yes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I expected. Every time when I teach this, this is exactly what the answer. So, and that's exactly what's needed. You know, we need to look at, do the SWOT on ourselves as professionals and even as human beings. That way we would know where we stand. And I will tell you in a few minutes, why is that important? I'm sure you all would have figured it out by now, but I'll tell you the benefits of doing that. Why should you do, and what is the research behind? What does the research say? The other one is self-regulation. What is self-regulation? Please type in your answers.
It's the discipline and ability to control your emotions. It's to manage yourself, being accountable to yourself, regulating expressions and emotions and reactions, being professional and composed, knowing when to stop, and understanding your limits.
Absolutely. Everybody is correct there. Self-regulation is self-discipline, controlling yourself. I'm sure you all have gone through the phenomena where one of our colleagues or one of our people that we work with, he or she did a presentation, you are the project manager, presentation went south, and you were really upset, and you wanted to pull your hair out and your colleague's hair out. So, but at that time, what you need to do, you need to stay calm. You need to just compose yourself and focus on the system. What happened from a system perspective, not the personal perspective or not the person. So drilling down on the what part, as opposed to the why part. So, and I'm also going to talk about the difference between what and why. So that's the self-regulation. And the third is the motivation. I'm sure you all know motivation. So how do you motivate project teams? Just please type in your answer. How do you motivate when it comes to as a project manager? How can you motivate project teams? What is the biggest motivator?
Okay, so we have a few responses. It's good vision, knowing your currency, setting clear goals. It's recognizing achievements, performing well with your staff, giving them goals and winning, giving recognition, giving respect. Lunch, somebody says, clear communication, leadership.
Lunch, of course. How about dinner? Okay, so what is the biggest motivator? If you were to, since you are all very experienced in this meeting today, what is the biggest motivator? Please type in. What's the biggest? If you were to pick one biggest motivator, what would you pick? What would you say?
Okay, so we have varied responses. Somebody said money, somebody said empathy, recognition, self-specific praise, compliments, being valued, feeling valued, trust. These are different responses that we're getting.
Okay, so yeah, these are very good responses. Money. Is fear a motivator? Fear? Yes or no? If yes, what type of fear? What are we fearful of? What are we afraid of? Is fear a motivator?
It's so we have mixed responses. It's fear is a motivator, yes and no, and then fear of failure.
Fear of failure. I'm sorry, go ahead, Faiza, please.
Why fear is a motivator? It could be the fear of failure, it could be losing your job, or fear of any kind of harm coming to you, being fired.
That's right. And these are all correct answers. Fear is also a motivator, and so is money, and so is the other things. But if somebody is motivated by fear, it's short-lived, okay? While on the other hand, the other motivators, which we'll talk about, those are sustainable. Fear is not sustainable because it's unnatural. Anytime when you do anything unnatural on a project, or in your real life, it's not sustainable. And I'll show you from a research perspective. Based upon, yeah, I'm sorry.
Comment from she says that fear only motivates to do the minimum, but not to go above and beyond.
Excellent, excellent, absolutely. That's an excellent way of putting it. Absolutely. That's why I said short-lived, it's not sustainable. You just do the bare minimum to get through, to keep your job for now. And, as soon as the situation changes, you'll probably switch your job. So, okay, based upon research, the topmost motivators are recognition and appreciation. Some of you might be disappointed saying, how come not the money? Well, why is that? I'm going to throw the question. Why is recognition and appreciation ahead of money, the financial goals? Why is that? Please type your answers.
So Sheila says money is a byproduct. And Renee says it goes to your self-worth. Jim says money is short-lived. It doesn't promote yourself. Money comes and goes.
Yep, absolutely. So again, research from different studies, we found out that mostly people are looking for recognition. They want to be recognized for their efforts, and they want to be appreciated. Of course, money helps, as the legendary chairman of GE, Jack Welch, said. Yes, give people trophy, but once in a while you may want to reward them on their wallets too. Trophies are important, but yes, money is important. I'm not discounting that, but the top motivators are recognition and appreciation. And so what does that get? You get happy and motivated employees. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's what it is. I mean, as we face this lockdown situation, we need to care about each other. This is the true test of all of us as project managers, all of us as team members. We need to show how much we care about each other. So that's the research shows. Now, so we've talked about, this is the model. This is the Daniel Goleman self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and empathy. So this is the emotional intelligence model. We're trying to figure out in our research, what is the correlation between emotional intelligence, these 5 components, building high-performance project teams, and their impact on project success. This is what we have been working on. And we're still doing the analysis, but the literature supports this model. The literature shows, which I'm going to share with you in a few seconds, that the teams that are built based upon the emotional intelligence model can make the projects more successful. Okay, some of the research studies from Harvard, MIT, and others. Okay, in MIT's 2017 commencement, Tim Cook, as you all know, CEO of Apple, said, people will try to convince you that you should keep empathy out of your career. Don't accept this false premise. Just don't. You need to have the empathy. You need to empathize as a project manager, as a leader. So here's an interesting survey. In a survey of 150 CEOs, over X percentage recognized empathy as a key to success. This is part of the Harvard Business School study in 2009. There's a question to everybody. What is that over X percentage? What is that X percentage? In your guess, please take a guess, everybody. Type. In a survey of 150 CEOs, over X percentage recognized empathy as a key to success. Please type your answer.
We're getting varied responses: 10, 65, 80, 25, 35, 30, 81, 6,
What's the
27.
Faiza, what's the lowest and highest you got?
Lowest I got it's
10?
here, I think $1.
I'm sorry?
Somebody says $1, somebody said,
One
in
dollar
terms of
or
in terms of
1%. Okay. And the highest one?
highest is 90.
90.
Yeah, 90.
Okay. Well, the 90% is off. It's 80%. 80% of the CEOs recognize that empathy is a key to success. So that's what research shows. So now, and the same study or another study that says X% of the employees at work, they feel physically and emotionally isolated. What is that X percentage? Please type in your answers. In a research study, X% of the employees at work feel physically and emotionally isolated.
Okay, so we're getting 60, 85, 75, 70, 65, 50, 80, 40, 50.
Who said 40? Do we have a name?
Yeah, we have a name. Just a
What's
second.
what's her name or his name or her name?
Michael Garber said it's 40.
Michael, okay. May and Pat Chaudhary, we need to give Michael an extra cup of coffee, maybe virtually 40%. The answer is 40%. 40% of the employees at work feel physically and emotionally isolated. And another X% of respondents feel the greatest sense of belonging when their colleagues check in with them both personally and professionally. And it could be just simple as, how are you doing? How are things? Is there anything I can help you with? That's all. So, and when you do that to your colleagues, people feel good about that. So what is the percentage of that?
This is pretty high. 100%, 80%, 90%, 95%, 70%.
Yeah,
60%.
it's interesting. Yeah, based upon that, since we started with 80% and 40%, and people would go back to 80%. It's not, but it's not as high as we think. But still, it's pretty high, which is about 39%. That's based upon the research study. So 39 to 40% people, they feel pretty good about it. So anyway, moving along now. There's also a research study that shows there are 3 foundational capabilities if you can practice, or if you as a project manager, if you can have those 3 capabilities, you can improve the team dynamics, the project team dynamics. Can anybody guess those 3? What would be those 3 capabilities that can help you improve the team dynamics? Anybody?
So we're getting the responses: empathy and communication, emotional intelligence, ability to build relationships, listening, likability, negotiation, communication, recognition, building trust, being decisive, EI, MQ, and team building, assertiveness,
Yep.
authenticity.
Absolutely. Those are all very good answers, and most of them, if not all of them, are correct answers. But if you were, based upon this Harvard study, it boiled down to 3 key elements. The first one was the internal self-awareness. This, the SWOT analysis that I talked about, SWOT on yourself. Do it on yourself as a project manager, do it on yourself as a human being. That is the foundation of everything. So that's the internal self-awareness. Then comes the external self-awareness. What is external self-awareness? It's what people think of you. What are your team members think of you? Yes, you might think you are the greatest project manager, on this earth. But the question is, how about your team members? Do your team members feel the same way? Do they have the same opinion? So external self-awareness, you may want to get a sense of that from the people around you, professionally and otherwise. And the third element is personal accountability. So personal accountability is based upon research when people like the project managers or leaders who hold themselves accountable. In your career, you might have come across project managers who are not willing to take any responsibility. They want to throw everybody on the team or a member of the team. Those are not the project managers people inspire to or they admire or they look up to. Project managers who take personal accountability, that's part of the foundation. Those are the three things that people look for. So again, internal self-awareness, external, and personal accountability. That motivates the project teams. That will motivate the teams, and that will make them happy. So those are the key three foundational capabilities that the research has found that is important for you as a project manager to help the team dynamics. Okay, now another research study found out there's something called communicating empathetically. What is empathetic communication? When we say, we all know what communication means, but what is empathetic communication? If you can please type in your answer, just as short as you can. What is empathetic communication?
Okay, so it is not to blame, it is to consider others' feelings. It's human-centered, mirroring what the other person is saying, being in someone else's shoes, adjusting to the situation and the person, understanding the other's point of view, caring
Excellent.
about another.
Yeah. Excellent point. Absolutely. Empathetic communication takes into account what we say or what we do. I'm sure you all have seen a project manager or a project leader says one thing and he or she does something else. That you instantly lose credibility. You don't want to do that. So what you say, what you do is extremely important, okay? And what we say or the way we say it, it's not only what we say, but it's also how we say it, okay? Or how we do it, leading by example. So that's very important. Again, project team members, they're going to look up to you as a project manager, as a project leader, or as a team leader. And the third thing is, when you communicate, you need to figure out what is going to be the impact of that on the people, on the key stakeholders, specifically on your team. When you are communicating, people are listening. And if whatever you are saying, if your actions don't match your words, people are going to stop believing you and you're going to lose credibility. Therefore, you're going to lose people. When you lose people, you lose projects. So that's the empathetic, the key, the essence of empathetic communication. Okay. Now, there's part of that is empathetic listening. So what is empathetic listening? The question to the audience, what is empathetic listening?
It is seeking to understand others, hearing beyond the words that are being said. It's active listening, paying attention to details, listening and feeling.
Absolutely. Somebody said active listening. It's active and reflective listening. When we say reflective, what is reflective listening?
So this is an interesting concept. Brad Jones says it's hearing what they mean instead of what they say.
Ah, very interesting. Yeah. And a lot of times we hear what we want to hear. We don't hear what the other person is trying to tell us or what the other person wants us to hear. We hear what we want to hear. Rizwan is listening to what Rizwan wants to listen. So you need to reflect, and that's a very good point Who said that, Faiza? Who said that, the last comment?
Brad Jones.
Brad Jones. Excellent. Yeah. Listen to people, reflect. Reflect on the meaning, dig deeper. What are they trying to say? Because once you do that and you reflect, what is the outcome of that? The research shows the outcome is that you build mutual understanding and trust. And we all know once we have built mutual understanding and trust, that can have a high performance team, which can basically have a positive impact on the success of the project or on the project. So that's called the empathetic listening. So now, just to summarize empathetic listening, it says, think before you speak. Before you speak, think. And I'm sure you all have seen this. It's very simple, but it's a very powerful tool. We have used that on our projects. People take it lightly, but it's very powerful, very simple. Think before you say. The T stands for, is it true? What we are saying or what other people or what we are listening, is it true? Is it based upon data and fact? Is it helpful? If I stand here and talk to you as a project manager or a project leader, is it helpful? Is it going to help you? Is it inspiring? And as May opened up this forum, and I really like that question, especially from the vice presidents, when they say, what's inspiring to you all? That was very good. So same thing as a project manager or as a project leader, whenever you speak, think, is it going to inspire the team members or is it going to take them in some other direction? And is it necessary? Because a lot of times, I know when I was a junior project manager, I wanted to say a lot of things. And I have had very good mentors at Deloitte and other companies, and they pull me on the side and say, well, Rizwan, sometimes you want to slow down and think. You don't need to say everything you want to say because some things may not be necessary. So as a project manager, as a leader, this is something you need to figure out, what to say and what not to say. It's just like strategy. When you create a strategy, a project strategy, or corporate strategy, part of it, as Professor Michael Porter said, a part of the strategy, a good strategy, is understanding what not to do. That is more important than what to do. So same thing when you're talking as a project manager, you want to figure out, is it necessary to say this at this time or at a particular time? And this is my favorite, the last one. Is it kind? Is it going to hurt somebody or is it going to be more empathetic? Does it going to sound kind or does it going to sound harsh? So that's something. So if we can, as project managers and leaders, if we can practice these, again, very simple, but if we can, it can have a very positive impact on the team, especially on the project team. Okay, now coming back to self-awareness, there's Dr. Tasha Urich. She has been doing research on emotional intelligence and specifically on self-awareness. She did a multi-year study on self-awareness, and she found out that 90% of us, everybody, including people in this dinner meeting, think we are quite self-aware, but only about X% of us actually are. Can you guess what that X percent is? 95% of us think we are quite self-aware, but only about X% of us actually are. Faiza, please tell me what the answers are.
We have 5, 10, 20, 30, 13, 40, 15. Yeah, 8%. Yeah, these are the responses we have.
Okay, what's the lowest one?
8. 5, I think. 5.
5. And what's the highest?
Highest, I think it's been 40.
40. So between 5 and 40. That's not bad. Better than the last presentation I did. The answer is about 10 to 15%. How's that? 95% of us, we think we're quite self-aware, but only the research shows only 10 to 15% of us actually are. So that's why I highly recommend everybody in this dinner meeting to do. One thing is when we are done, especially in this lockdown, unfortunately lockdown situation, do a SWOT analysis on yourself as a project manager or as a person, as a human being, as a spouse. You will be surprised and it will help you. The best, she's written, Dr. Urich has written 2 good books I highly recommend, Bankable Leadership and also Insight, Connection Between Self-Awareness and Success. Those are the good books to read. Moving along, Harvard and MIT research on high-performance teams. Okay, so there are 2 types, well, there are multiple types, but right now we're focusing on high performance and low performance. Low performance teams are also called saboteur teams because they're always looking, they're sabotaging themselves. Of course, the high performance teams are also called the loyalist teams because they're very loyal to the project. They want to get things done. They're very positive. So the research shows that if you have a high performance teams, or the high performing teams members are X times more likable to spend time debating, discussing problems, and making decisions. Question to the audience, what is that X times?
So we're getting answers 7, 5, 3, 70 times, 2 times, 25 times.
All right, you want to go higher, ladies and gentlemen?
80 is
80.
higher now.
Higher now. You want to go higher than 80? Anybody, any takers for higher than 80?
You're giving hints now. 90, 100, 87.
All right. What? Just take a wild guess.
2000.
2000. What? Please don't get that wild. Okay, that's all right. So, yeah.
300. Amna Ahmed says 300. Kevin
Okay.
says 90.
Okay. Who is closer to 300 besides Amna?
I don't think anybody so far.
Well, she must have read the paper, huh? It is 292 times more likely to spend. High performance team members are 292 times more likely to spend time debating, discussing problems, and decision making. And we all know what the impact of that could be. Of course, that can lead to project success because people are openly debating, discussing, and making decisions. So once all these 3 things happen, you are spending time debating, you're discussing problems, and you're making decisions, things move forward. And when things move forward, you move towards project success. Now, second one, X times more likely, again, loyalist high performance team members are X times more likely to address unacceptable team behaviors promptly. If somebody is conducting an unacceptable team behavior on a high performance team, people are going to call them out. And what is that X times?
Okay, so Sheila says it could be 10 times. Daniel says 100 times. Medina says 5 times. We have a few hundreds again. 10 times, 75 times, 90 times, 20 times.
125 times more likely to address unacceptable team members promptly, team member behaviors. Okay. Third one, X times more likely to give each other tough feedback. High performance team members are X times more likely to give each other tough feedback.
50, 300, 150, 70, 80, 65.
106 times. 106 times. Last but not the least, this is an interesting one. High performance team members spend X times less likely to have undiscussables that the team cannot talk openly about. X times less likely to have undiscussables that the team can't talk openly about.
Okay, so we have 50, 70, 150, 300, 80. I think you need to rephrase.
Yeah, it's because something people are saying, there's nothing that we can't talk about, you know. So we can talk about, there's a 40 times likely that there's nothing that people can't, the high performance can't talk about. Anyway, so these are based upon the research and the surveys. These are the answer. Again, high performance teams, as you can see, the moral of the story is they are competitive, but they also debate, discuss, and problems, everything. They're very candid to each other. They pull each other out and they push each other so that we can all deliver the project successfully. Okay, so once we do that, again, the moral of the story is it basically, the literature research supports our model that we have been studying. If we can build a high performance teams based upon emotional intelligence, we can enhance the project success. Therefore, we can save billions of dollars, not only in the US, but also around the world. So that's the message, or that's the research that states, suggests to us so far. So now I'm just going towards the end of my presentation. Research study also says focus on the what, not the why. Why didn't my boss give me a raise? Why doesn't my supervisor see it the way I see it? Why doesn't my spouse know how to load the dishes in the dishwasher the right way? Don't focus on the why. Focus on the what. What can I do to help my colleague? What can I do to support the project? So once you move away from the why and focus on the what, that's where you will see the value. That's where you will see the self-awareness part coming out. Okay. So switch from the why. That's my recommendation, because people ask me, how can we become more self-aware? So this is the tip of tonight. The dinner meeting is start focusing on the what and forget about the why part. This will help you professionally and personally. And that's based upon research. Okay, now the 3 bonus questions from Daniel Goleman's research is, if you want to enhance your emotional intelligence, ask these 3 questions. These are the 3 questions, bonus questions for attending tonight's dinner meeting. What are the differences between how you see yourself and how others see you, the external part that I talked about? What matters to you? What matters to you? What is it life? What is it that you want in life, in your profession, on your project? And the third is, what changes will you make to achieve your goals? So these are the 3 questions that can help you become more self-aware about yourself. And I'm going to close this presentation with a quote from Rumi, who was a poet and a scholar. And this is one of my favorites. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I am changing myself. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Rizwan. Thank you for interactive presentation. That was great.
Okay, thank you. I can take any questions.
So we had a question earlier. This was from Ramakrishnan. He wanted to know, what is external self-awareness?
What people outside you think of you. What are your team members, they think of you. That's what's their assessment of you. People who are around you, your colleagues, that's called and how aware are you about their thoughts about you?
Okay, so we have another question. This is, if we want to be empathetic to team members, but your boss doesn't appreciate it, what do you do?
That's okay. If your boss doesn't appreciate, that's fine. It's your life, it's your project, it's your profession. This is your personal contribution. That's fine. Yes, you are answerable to your boss on the project, but again, it's your life. You're a human being. You are a professional. So do your professional duty. Anybody else? Any questions? Well, maybe it was such a boring talk that nobody has any questions, huh?
A few questions. Yasmin, I think from UAE, she's joined us.
Okay.
She has an answer. She has a question that we need to focus on. Just a second, hold on. I'm getting a lot of questions now.
Okay.
We refer to that as the virtual lag.
Do you think this way of thinking could have a rippling effect? You know, where you said that you focus on the what and not the why. Could this have a rippling effect?
I mean, I'm assuming you're asking the rippling positive effect. Yes, of course. Again, like I said, think of what is it? What is it that I can do to help my team members? What is it that I can do for my boss? What is it that I can do for my spouse? So it can have a rippling positive effect, and research supports that.
Okay, another question we have from Anu Shrivastava. Any suggestions for conflict resolution? I'm assuming this is conflict resolution within teams.
Yes, I mean, well, again, the whole essence of high performance team is that you have very minimal conflict, or even if you have a conflict, you discuss it, debate it, and resolve it. Yes, so that's one of the points I mentioned. The difference between that minus 111 and positive 111 is exactly this, that the high performance teams, they don't let the conflict simmer over weeks or months and years. They talk about it, they discuss it, they resolve it, and they move forward.
Okay, so Dr. Rizwan, following from this particular answer that you've given, Steve Mays has a question that, can you please explain why high performance teams have a high discussion rate but only 40% of issues? I think 40% of issues refers to the undiscussables.
Undiscussables, yeah, those are the undiscussables, yes. So, but they do, I'm sorry? Yeah, those are the, 40 times undiscussables. Even people don't want to talk about. So when you compare them, there's a 40 times higher, they will talk about, but the issues, they talk about 292 times about all issues. This was, as Faiza said, it was only focused on the undiscussables.
Okay, a very interesting question, Michael Garber. How do you see COVID affecting high performance teams' ways of working going forward now?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, that's a very good question. And we were discussing in our breakout rooms, and I'm working in Olympia, Washington here, working on it's an IT project. And I came out here on March 1st, everything was fine. I was talking to the members, I was physically sitting with them, visiting, having meetings. And then March 15th or so, this lockdown came, and everybody started, whoa, what's going to happen to the project? The performance is going to go down and all that. But I can tell you from my live experience since March 15th and today is May 14th. So in the last, the performance or the productivity has gone up. It's because, I mean, it's gone up, and the attendance, the meeting attendance has been 100%. There's nobody who has missed any of the meetings in the last 60 days. So, I mean, even though people are stressed out, and some of us or most of us are working even 30%, yes, I would say probably I'm assuming the stress level is high, but I'm just giving you from a live, project. The productivity has gone up. It has so far zero negative impact, and we are going live with the system in June. And so far, everything is on track. I mean, this is the example I'm giving. Yeah.
Dr. Rizwan, we have a very short but a very vast question actually. Fulvia Hoffman, she's asking, how can you change others' perception of you?
Yeah. Again, this goes back to the basic lead by example. I mean, it's also, some people ask me, how can you change stereotype? Well, you don't need to change the stereotype. I mean, people have, but you want to be, you just need to be yourself. That's all. I mean, let people, do their assessment, of course, and let your actions speak for you. Let your actions, let them change their perception. And if they don't, too bad. You just continue doing whatever you believe is the right thing to do. And that's why I said in that think, is it true? And nobody can hide the truth. So if it's true that you're a high performer, if it's true that you are doing a good job, sooner or later, the truth will prevail.
Okay, so Deepa has a question regarding unmotivated team members. So if you have an unmotivated team member, when you talk about what instead of why, so how do you then, what do you ask yourself then? What is they have minimum contribution in the team. So then what do you do? How do you address the what?
Well, what can I do to help that team member? That's the what. What can I do as a team leader, as a project manager? Because now it's the flip side. You are the project manager. You figure out what can you do to help that project. What is it, that issue? What are the issues or what are the challenges that team member is facing that you can help with?
So Kevin has a question regarding how you can get over complacency and negative thinking.
That's again, it goes back to again, personality types, as most of you know in organizational behavior and team building. There's some people are pessimists and some people are optimists and some people are in between. Again, my advice to project managers is that you focus on what can you do to help and do your best and continue to do positive things. You need to talk positive. You need to show positive results, and most of the time, even research shows that most of the time people, even the negative people or the pessimists, that you can turn them around, or at least you can't change people's personalities overnight or even 6 months or a year, but you can have them adapt or kind of admit that you are making a positive change or a positive difference. So that's all you can do. You cannot change anybody's personality. in a short period of time, or probably not in the life of a project, which is usually 12 to 18 months. So, I mean, be positive and, continue to be positive and lead by example.
Okay, so we
Okay,
don't have any other.
okay, well, our time is up. Back to you, May. And again, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Rizwan. Thank you, Faisal, for the monitor the pollings. It's great, and thanks for everyone in the audience and to give your feedback there. As we talked about earlier, this is the very first virtual dinner meeting of the chapter. So we appreciate your feedback, and then we'll take them and reflect, and we'll try to do better next time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to launch a poll with 4 questions for everybody to respond. So this will help us to improve our quality of the virtual meetings. So I've just launched the poll. So you should be able to answer the questions. While we are giving people time to respond, what I'm going to do is to talk about our June dinner meeting. Given the current situation, the circumstances, our June dinner meeting will be a virtual Zoom meeting, similar to this one, but will be even more fun and better. So our keynote presenter for the June meeting is no stranger to PMI Dallas chapter. You actually will see her photo here on the screen, and she actually delivered a really good keynote presentation in February of last year, 2019, the titled 4 Generations and Leadership in the 21st Century. We talk about the leadership generational differences, similarities, how to manage those. I personally actually applied those in my workplace because I manage a team of 16 people at work, and ranging from late boomers to millennials. It made a difference in a very positive way. So we are going to bring her back next month on June the 11th to give another presentation titled Executive Presence, Key to Get Promoted. We did a poll last year among our members. Executive presentation is a topic a lot of our members wanting to know more. Valerie is going to be a very interactive presentation as well. So we're going to work with Valerie to do some trials to make sure it works, and then we're gracious that she joined here today to watch how that virtual meeting works. So next time will be a good one. So she's going to talk about what executive presence really is and give people multiple tips about how to be successful in the workplace, from communication skills, how you influence, how you manage, not just manage across, but manage up, how you elevate yourself and from things you do, things you write, and then different aspects. So it's going to be fun. Okay. I've got 98 people already answered the poll, and if you haven't, please take a moment to answer those. We really, really appreciate your feedback. It will help us to improve our dinner meeting. I want to pass the meeting, May, back to you or Pat?
Well, I guess you can give it to me. And is May still here? Go ahead. Well, May, what do you want to say? Anything special? I want to thank everybody for coming. I thought Rizwan did a great job, and I think most of you did looking at this survey. So that's good. We really appreciate your coming here again. That's 3 in a row, so that's good. Thank you very much.
I like to say that I like the fact that it's interactive. It keeps the audience engaged and moves the presentation along quite nicely.
Yeah, that's a good part of it. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Right now is actually 8:35. We appreciate you and we want you to know we care for you. So if you have anything, feel free to reach out to our board member or connect with me directly and email us. We take all the feedback seriously. Thank you, our speaker, Rizwan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Location is again for PNI chapter.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, May, people are asking when can they access the recording and where will the recording be?
This is a question we have previously. Then I think Dot is going to do some research. We may put that in the chapter YouTube channel, or we may put as a Google Drive for people to download. We still try to find the best, most effective way for everybody. So just give us a week or two and let us figure out the technology-wise, what is make most sense for us to share.
Yeah, I think people are suggesting YouTube channel, so it's more accessible. That's what I see. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do have that in our consideration. So we do. We currently has a YouTube channel. We utilize that and see what can we do on this.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. Just want a commercial time. PNI, we have free event this month. So we have free Agile workshop this Saturday and free Toastmaster meeting this Saturday. And normally it costs $25. So at this moment, if you want to know anything about Toastmaster, you want to be an awesome speaker, you want to be great at the presentation, those are your opportunity. And we have learned. So check out our calendar, then give us feedback. We will love to hear from you.
Thank you, May. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Lisa. Everybody, thank you.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Rizwan, I'd like to say a personal, Dr. Rizwan,
Yes.
I'd like to say a personal thank you to you. This is Kevin.
Yes,
And I
Kevin.
shall eat a plum in your honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Stay safe and healthy, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you all. Safe.
Bye, May. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, man. That's a nice parade wave.
Princess wave.
Princess, yes, princess.
That's this way.